Why everyone is talking about new government checks. At the start of this year, one question keeps coming up again and again across America. Is the federal government sending out new checks? You hear it in family conversations, you see it in church parking lots, you notice it in group texts, online videos, and even local news headlines. People are asking the same thing. Are we about to receive another round of government money? For many older Americans, that question isn't about excitement. It's about relief. Prices are higher than they were just a few years ago. Groceries cost more, prescriptions cost more, insurance premiums keep rising, even basic home repairs feel heavier on a fixed income. So when the word checks starts circulating, it naturally creates hope. But here's where the confusion begins. What people are hearing right now is not the same thing as what actually happened during the pandemic. Back then, stimulus checks were clear, official, and widely announced. Today's situation is very different, yet social media, headlines, and word of mouth are blending several separate ideas into one misleading story. And when that happens, good people can make rushed financial decisions. Some may plan around money that never arrives. Others may fall for messages that look official but aren't. In moments like this, clarity matters more than speed. This conversation isn't about politics. It's not about hype. It's about slowing things down and understanding what's really happening so you can protect your money, your peace of mind, and the stability you've worked a lifetime to build. Because before we talk about any checks, we need to talk about expectations. Why today's checks are being misunderstood. One of the biggest reasons people feel confused right now is because several very different conversations are being mixed together and presented as one simple idea. Free money is coming. In reality, what's happening is far more complicated. Over the past few months, bits and pieces of information have been circulating. Conversations about refunds, tax changes, possible rebates, future relief programs, and even proposed dividends. On their own, each of these topics means something very specific, but once they pass through social media, headlines, and casual conversations, they get blended into a single message. And that message sounds powerful. The government is sending checks again. Short videos online reduce complex financial topics into 30-second clips. Headlines are written to grab attention, not to explain details. Friends repeat what they've heard without knowing the full story. Eventually, rumors begin to sound like facts. For seniors especially, this creates a dangerous gap between expectation and reality. People start counting on money that hasn't been approved. They delay decisions thinking help is on the way. Some even change their spending behavior based on information that isn't confirmed. This is exactly why slowing down matters. Not everything discussed in public becomes a program. Not every proposal becomes a policy. And not every rumor leads to a check in the mailbox. Until something is officially passed, clearly explained, and publicly announced by trusted government agencies, it should never be treated as guaranteed income. Understanding the difference doesn't take hope away. It protects it because financial peace isn't built on excitement. It's built on clarity. What real stimulus actually looks like. To understand what's happening now, we need to clearly remember what real stimulus looked like in the past. During the pandemic years, stimulus checks didn't arrive quietly. They didn't come through rumors or vague online posts. They were created through specific legislation passed by Congress, signed into law, and announced publicly by multiple federal agencies. Everyone knew they were coming. The rules were clear, the amounts were defined, and the timeline was explained in advance. That's what stimulus really is. Stimulus is designed to inject new money into the economy during an emergency. It's meant to help families stay afloat when normal income suddenly isn't enough. It comes with official press conferences, IRS guidance, and clear instructions, not mystery links or limited time messages. What we are seeing today does not fit that pattern. There has been no major legislation passed creating a new nationwide stimulus program. There have been no formal announcements promising broad emergency payments, and there has been no clear guidance from trusted federal agencies explaining who qualifies and how payments would be delivered. Yet the word stimulus is still being used loosely and inaccurately, and that word carries emotional weight. For many seniors, it brings back memories of relief during a frightening time. It creates the feeling that help is coming again. But when a word is used incorrectly, it creates false expectations. Understanding this difference isn't about taking something away. It's about staying grounded in reality. So hope is based on facts, not memories. Because when real stimulus comes, You don't have to guess. Most of these checks are simply tax refunds. When people hear the phrase money from the government, most imagine something new, extra cash meant to help cover rising costs. But in reality, much of what's being discussed right now is not new money at all. It's tax refunds. A tax refund is very simple. It means you paid more into the system during the year than you actually owed. When tax season arrives, that extra money is returned to you. It's not a gift, it's not a reward, and it's not stimulus. It's your own money coming back. Because of recent changes in tax rules and withholding calculations, many Americans, including retirees, may notice refunds that look slightly larger than expected. And when that check arrives, it can certainly feel like relief. For seniors on fixed incomes, refunds are often used to catch up on medical bills, fix something in the home, help a family member, or simply take a breath. But it's important to be honest about what a refund really represents. That money didn't appear out of nowhere. It was slowly taken out of your income throughout the year. You simply didn't have access to it when you needed it most. Calling that return of money stimulus changes how people think about it, and that can lead to disappointment. Stimulus suggests abundance. Refunds represent correction. Understanding that difference helps you plan realistically, instead of expecting something that was never designed to create lasting financial relief. Why some paychecks look bigger right now. Another reason many people believe new government money is being sent out is because some paychecks feel slightly larger than they used to. You may have heard someone say, "I'm getting more money now. The government must be helping." What's actually happening is much less dramatic. In many cases, the IRS has adjusted how much money is withheld from paychecks during the year. That means less tax is being taken out each pay period. As a result, you see more money in your check now, instead of waiting until tax season to get it back as a refund. This can feel helpful, especially when monthly expenses are high. But it's important to understand the trade-off. When less money is withheld throughout the year, the refund at the end of the year is usually smaller. Nothing new is being created. No extra benefit is being added. The timing has simply changed. It's like moving money from one pocket to another. For retirees who still work part-time or receive taxable income, this shift can create the illusion of extra income. But planning around that illusion can cause problems later, especially if you expect a large refund that never comes. This is why careful budgeting matters. When we understand where money truly comes from, we avoid surprises. And for seniors living on fixed or limited incomes, avoiding surprises isn't just smart. It's essential, because financial stability isn't about how much arrives early. It's about knowing what will still be there later. Proposals, rumors, and why they are not guaranteed money. Another major source of confusion comes from conversations about possible future programs. You may hear words like dividends, rebates, relief payments, or new benefits mentioned in interviews, articles, or online discussions. Sometimes these ideas are talked about by economists, sometimes they're mentioned by politicians, and sometimes they're taken completely out of context by social media. Here's the key point most people never hear clearly enough. A proposal is not a policy. A proposal is simply an idea. It can be discussed, it can be debated, it can be quoted, but until it is officially passed into law, clearly explained, and formally announced, it does not exist as a real program. This matters because over time, proposals often start to sound like promises. A comment becomes a headline becomes a video clip becomes a rumor. And suddenly, people believe checks are already on the way. For seniors living on fixed incomes, this can be dangerous. People may delay necessary decisions. They may hold off on repairs or medical care, expecting money that never arrives. Some may even borrow or spend based on hope instead of facts. The truth is simple but important. Until something is law, it is not income. Until it is official, it should never be counted on. Staying grounded protects not just your finances, but your sense of security. Why the word stimulus is causing false hope. There is one word at the center of almost all this confusion, and that word is stimulus. It's a powerful word. For many Americans, especially seniors, it brings back strong memories of the pandemic years, a time when real stimulus checks helped people stay afloat during an emergency, a time when help felt immediate and clear. That emotional memory matters. When people hear the word stimulus today, their minds naturally expect the same thing: fast relief, extra money, and support during hard times. But using that word right now is misleading. Real stimulus does not happen quietly. It does not appear through rumors or online speculation. It comes from specific legislation, formal votes, and official announcements from trusted federal agencies. There are clear rules, clear eligibility requirements, and clear communication. What we are seeing today is very different. Most of the conversations happening now are about refunds, withholding adjustments, and ideas that may or may not ever become programs. None of those function like stimulus. They don't inject new money into the economy. They don't solve rising costs. And they don't guarantee cash arriving just because times feel difficult. When the word stimulus is used incorrectly, it creates emotional whiplash. Hope rises quickly. Expectations grow. And when reality doesn't match the promise, frustration follows. Clarity protects people from that cycle, because peace of mind isn't built on comforting words, it's built on accurate ones. Why rising costs make rumors feel real? To understand why these rumors spread so quickly, we have to talk about something very real: pressure. For many seniors, financial pressure today feels heavier than it did just a few years ago. Groceries cost more every month, prescription prices keep rising, insurance premiums climb quietly year after year, home repairs, car maintenance, and property taxes all seem to hit at once, and for those living on fixed incomes, there's very little room to adjust. So when someone hears that checks might be coming, it doesn't sound like gossip. It sounds like relief. It sounds like help finally catching up to reality. That emotional response is completely human. Hope fills the gap where budgets feel tight. But this is exactly why rumors become dangerous during times like these. When costs rise faster than income, people become more vulnerable to information that promises comfort. Even vague or unverified claims can feel trustworthy when they align with what we want to believe. That doesn't mean anyone is careless. It means people are tired. This emotional environment makes it easier for misinformation to spread and easier for scammers to take advantage of fear and hope at the same time. Understanding this helps us respond with compassion instead of panic. Because when money feels tight, the most valuable thing we can hold on to is clarity, not promises that may never arrive. Why refunds feel like relief, not extra money. When tax refunds finally arrive, most seniors don't celebrate. They exhale. Over the years, many retirees have shared the same experience. That refund doesn't feel like extra money. It feels like catching up. It fills the gaps left behind by a long, expensive year, the refrigerator that's been making noise for months, the car repair that couldn't wait any longer, the medical bill insurance didn't fully cover, groceries that quietly cost more every week. For many households, refunds are not about getting ahead. They're about getting current again. That's an important distinction because expectations shape decisions. When people hear checks are coming, their minds often jump to rest, comfort, or finally relaxing financially. But in reality, refunds usually disappear quickly, not because of poor planning, but because they were already spoken for. Many seniors dip into savings just to get through the holidays. Others quietly put prescriptions on credit cards. None of this means failure. It means life is expensive and fixed incomes don't stretch the way they used to. So when that refund arrives, the instinct isn't to spend, it's to repair, to replace, to refill, to recover. That's why calling refunds stimulus can be harmful. Stimulus suggests abundance. Refunds simply close the gap. They stop the leaks. They don't build a new house. Understanding this truth helps people plan honestly, without disappointment. When expectations lead to disappointment, there is a quiet kind of disappointment that often follows these conversations about checks. It happens when expectations grow faster than reality. When people believe money is coming, they plan around it. They delay decisions. They tell themselves, I'll handle that once the check arrives. And emotionally, that makes sense. Hope can feel like a cushion during stressful times. But when the money turns out to be smaller than expected, or when it was never stimulus at all, that cushion disappears. Instead of relief, people feel let down, not just financially, but emotionally. This matters deeply for seniors because disappointment at this stage of life carries more weight. There's less time to recover from mistakes, less flexibility to adjust income, and more stress when plans don't work out the way they were imagined. Calling refunds or withholding adjustments stimulus sets people up for that letdown. It creates the image of abundance when the reality is correction. It makes people expect progress when the real outcome is simply stability. And stability is valuable, but only when it's understood clearly. When expectations match reality, people feel calmer. They make better decisions. They stop waiting for miracles and start working with what's actually in front of them. That's not pessimism. That's protection, because financial peace doesn't come from surprise checks. It comes from knowing the truth early enough to plan wisely. The scams that appear when confusion grows. Whenever there is confusion about government money, scammers move fast. They know exactly what they're doing. They take advantage of uncertainty, rising costs, and the emotional hope that help might be coming. And they target seniors more than any other group. The messages often look official. They use urgent language, final notice, time sensitive. Your benefit is waiting. Some claim you qualify for a $2,000 payment. Others say a rebate is about to expire. They may pretend to be the IRS, a government office, or a financial agency. Some sound polite, others sound threatening. But the goal is always the same, to get your personal information or your money. Here is the most important thing to remember. The federal government does not text you out of the blue to claim a check. The IRS does not ask for banking information through random links. No legitimate agency requires a processing fee to release a benefit. Scammers rely on pressure. They want you to act quickly before you have time to think or verify. That sense of urgency is the warning sign. If a message feels rushed, confusing, or emotionally charged, pause. Don't click, don't respond. Take a breath and verify through official channels. Protecting yourself isn't fear, it's wisdom. Pause, verify, and protect yourself. When confusing messages start appearing, the most important skill isn't speed, it's pause. Scammers succeed because they create urgency. They want you to act before you think. But legitimate government programs do not disappear overnight. If something is real, it will still be there tomorrow. So when a message arrives, whether by text, email, or social media, take a moment, breathe, ask yourself a simple question. Why is this trying to rush me? Never click links sent to you claiming to unlock money, never enter personal information because a message tells you to, and never feel embarrassed for slowing things down. Verification is protection. If you're unsure, go directly to official sources by typing the website yourself, not through a link. Call your bank using the number on your statement. Speak with your tax preparer. Ask a trusted family member to look at the message with you. 2 sets of eyes are better than 1. And here's something many seniors need to hear clearly. Anyone who makes you feel foolish for asking questions is not someone you should trust. You worked too hard for what you have to let urgency or pressure take it away. Caution is not fear. It's experience doing its job. When you slow down, you stay in control, and control is the foundation of financial safety. How to think about a refund before it arrives. If a refund does arrive, the most important work happens before the money ever shows up. Not emotionally, not with excitement, but thoughtfully. A refund is not a surprise gift. It's a resource, and every resource needs direction. Before the check comes, it helps to ask one quiet, honest question. What would bring me the most peace if this money arrives? For many seniors, the answer isn't something big or flashy. It's stability. That might mean rebuilding a small emergency cushion so the next unexpected expense doesn't feel like a crisis. It might mean paying off a lingering bill that has been sitting on the counter, quietly adding stress every day. It could mean catching up on doctor's appointments or prescriptions that were delayed because money felt tight. And here's something that deserves to be said clearly. Using a refund to stabilize your life is not a luxury. It is responsible. It is wise. There's often pressure to do something special with extra money. But peace matters more than purchases. A quiet night's sleep, knowing essentials are covered, is worth far more than anything that fades in a few weeks. When stability comes first, whatever remains can be planned carefully, not impulsively. That's how refunds serve their real purpose, not changing your life overnight, but helping it feel steady again. Clarity creates calm in uncertain times. As we come to the end of this conversation, it's important to return to where it all began. Yes, you're hearing talk about checks. Yes, there is confusion. But no, this is not the return of stimulus as many people remember it. Most of what's being discussed today involves tax refunds, withholding adjustments, and conversations that may or may not ever turn into real programs. These things can help. They can keep the lights on, they can fix the car, they can refill the pantry and bring life back to where it was supposed to be, but they rarely move people ahead. And when we understand that truth, something important happens. We stop building hope around rumors. We stop waiting for surprise relief from Washington, and we start making steady decisions based on what's real. That's where peace comes from. Clarity creates calm. When you know what something truly is, a refund, not stimulus, an adjustment, not a windfall, your shoulders relax. You stop chasing headlines and start protecting what matters most. You may not control inflation, you may not control policy, you may not control the news cycle, but you do control how you respond. You can choose caution over urgency. You can choose verified information over speculation. You can choose steady planning over emotional reaction, and that choice is strength. Peace of mind is worth protecting, and it's built one clear decision at a time.